Welcome to my channel. I've retired from a career in information technology with lifelong passions: photography, travel, history, and a little geography-geology. I acquired my first drone this summer, got my FAA Part 107 license, and I'm learning videography. I hope you enjoy the show. Please let me know either way in the comments and likes below. Have drone, will shoot, Cal Old Blue. There is a part of the San Francisco Bay Area that gets little notice, and that's a shame. It has a rich history, quaint towns, and has played large roles in the growth of the state. This is the waterway which forms the border between Solano and Contra Costa counties, the Carquinez Strait. At the western entrance are two highway bridges known collectively as the Carquinez Bridge. They carry Interstate 80 from San Francisco east to Teaneck, New Jersey. West of them lie the San Pablo and San Francisco Bays. To the east, at the far end of the strait, are the three Martinez-Benicia bridges, 2 auto, 1 train. Beyond them, farther east, lie Grizzly, Suisun, and Honker Bays, and ultimately, the fertile Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta and valleys. That middle railroad bridge will play a large role in our story. Let's go to the map. This is an insurance company map from 1899. On it you can see the cities we'll visit, starting from the east: Martinez, Benicia, Port Costa, and finally Crockett. Before we dive in, some background. The original inhabitants of the area were Carquin Indians, spelled with a K, called Los Carquines by the Spanish, with a C and an S at the end. The Spanish began colonizing California starting from Mexico around 1770, slowly working their way north for 50 years, eventually reaching Marin and Sonoma counties, which lie west of here. They created 3 types of settlements: military installations called presidios, religious installations known as missions, and towns known as pueblos. After Mexico gained independence from Spain, the missions were turned over to local authorities, and the bulk of mission land was given away in the form of large land grants to prominent individuals, usually military leaders or politicians, but others as well. This brought us to the Rancho period of California, where many of these large estates became prosperous cattle ranches. Armed with that background, we can talk about the names we see on this map. Mariano Vallejo was a comandante of the San Francisco Presidio, the military installation. He founded the town of Sonoma. He was a member of the California Constitutional Convention when California became a state, and eventually a California state senator. He had a massive land grant which included much of the land along the north shore of the strait. He was well respected by both the Hispanic and Anglo communities and served as a peacemaker during the U.S. takeover of California in 1848. Francisca Benicia Vallejo was Mariano's wife. Francisco Solano was a chief of the Suisunist tribe, from which Suisun Bay takes its name. He was a supporter of General Vallejo and was given an 18,000-acre land grant in Solano County called Rancho Suisun, but ended up selling it back to Vallejo 8 years later. Ignacio Martinez was the 4th alcalde, or mayor, of San Francisco. He was granted Rancho Pinole in 1842, which stretched along the entire southern shore of the Carquinez Strait. And finally, Contra Costa, which is not a person but a thing. Contra Costa is Spanish for opposite coast. Originally, both Contra Costa and Alameda counties were a single county, and they lay on the opposite coast of San Francisco Bay from San Francisco. Everybody straight with all that? Okay, let's go hit our first stop. Welcome to Martinez. Vicente Martinez built this adobe house in 1849 on his father Ignacio's 1836 land grant, a mile up the Alhambra Valley from the waterfront. Vicente's brother-in-law William Smith founded the town of Martinez, where Alhambra Valley hits the shoreline that same year, naming it in honor of Ignacio. Here's an old postcard showing what things looked like around 1910. Let's have a look at the town today while we discuss some more history. By 1847, there was a rudimentary ferry service running between Benicia and Martinez, although neither town really existed at that point. The ferry was created by Dr. Robert Semple, who was doing in Benicia what Smith was doing in Martinez, creating a town. This was the only crossing of the strait for quite some time, and it became a key transportation link for gold seekers, starting in 1849 with the gold rush. That traffic made money for both cities. In 1850, the not really there yet town was made the county seat, even though it lacked the necessary 200 registered voters in order to be eligible to incorporate as a city. That event would have to wait another 25 years. This piece of art is going to direct our discussion for a bit. The noted distribution point of Northern California office gossip for 120 years, Alhambra Water, was founded in Martinez in 1902. They make water coolers. Should a Pony Express rider miss his boat in Sacramento, the mail, which must go through, continued by horse overland to the Benicia Martinez Ferry, and then over the hills to Oakland, and on to a ferry to San Francisco. Therefore, Martinez was, at times, part of the Pony Express. The inventor of modern home coffee machines, and arguably the best baseball player of his generation, if not all time, Joe DiMaggio, was born in Martinez. John Muir and trains seen on opposite ends of this mural deserve their own discussion. Since Muir arrived here first, we'll start with him. Dr. John Strentzel, a Polish freedom fighter and 1840 immigrant to this country, built this mansion in 1882 on property that was part of the Ignacio Martinez land grant, only 100 yards away from the Martinez adobe. Strentzel had been in the area since 1853, growing fruit in the Alhambra Valley and conducting horticultural experiments. He slowly added land and built this mansion shortly after his daughter had married a traveling Scotsman by the name of John Muir. Muir took over managing the Strentzel orchard, which allowed Strentzel to focus on matters horticultural, and Muir did a good job as manager, making both Strentzel and himself a lot of money. During their marriage, even after having 2 children, Louisa allowed John to wander off for lengthy trips to his beloved mountains. Here's what a contemporary and friend had to say about John shortly after his passing in 1914.
He was a great factor in influencing the thought of California and the thought of the entire country so as to secure the preservation of those great natural phenomenon, wonderful canyons, giant trees, slopes of flower-spangled hillsides, which make California a veritable garden of the Lord. John Muir talked even better than he wrote. His greatest influence was always upon those who were brought into personal contact with him. But he wrote well, and while his books have not the peculiar charm that a very, very few other writers on similar subjects have had, they will nevertheless last long. Our generation owes much to John Muir.
Theodore Roosevelt. Which leaves trains. In many ways, the story of the Carquinez Strait is a story of transportation. Transportation drove much of what happened here. Water, ferry, rail, horse, road, all are at play here. The strait provides a flat, low path through the coastal mountains into the interior of California and the entire country beyond. Rail lines built along the southern shore opened up the San Joaquin Valley, but not the Sacramento Valley. That route was needed to bring transcontinental rail to the Bay Area. The Martinez-Benicia Rail Bridge solved that for good in 1930. Later we'll look at another impressive if temporary solution that was put in place in 1879. Today, not just freight moves on this corridor, but key Amtrak routes as well. The California Zephyr, Oakland to Chicago. The Coast Starlight, Seattle to LA. Capital Corridor, San Jose to Auburn. And the San Joaquin, Oakland to Bakersfield. Oh look, here comes the Zephyr. Let's hop on board and ride it to the next stop so we can take a look at Martinez's cross-strait rival, Benicia.